All right, welcome back to the third part of One Man's Faith. I was trying to get through this story just to let you know how Abraham met up with Melchizedek. But we had the 5 kings, and they subjugated 4 kingdoms, okay? And these the 4 kings over the 5 kings, I'm sorry. Ched was one of them. That's what I'm going to call this guy, whose real name is Chedorlaomer, okay? I'm going to call him Ched, okay? He and the other 3 kings subjugated the 5 kings. The 5 kings rebelled against the 4 kings. The 4 kings, though, took down the Raphaim, the Zuzim, and the Amim. Now, they're bad dudes. The Zuzim, the word Zuzim really means prominent. They're prominent because they were aboriginal. In other words, they were cannibalistic. Ew. But that's one of the people that the 4 kings took down. They also took down the Emim, which is a Moabitish tribe, and the term Emim actually means frightful, okay? So these were some bad dudes that the 4 kings took down, and in coming back around, they came through and they dealt with the 5 kings. 2 of the kings one was from Sodom and one was Gomorrah, okay? And when they took down those 2 kings, they took with them contraband and even people from Sodom and Gomorrah, one of which was Lot, a relative of Abraham. And so Abraham gathered his 315, was it 315 or, 318. I was off by 3 people. He took 318 people and pursued these kings. And he says he divided his force. This is in Genesis 14:15. He divided his forces against them by night, he and his servants, and defeated them. That is, those 4 kings. And pursued them as far as Hobah, which is north of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods and also brought back his relative Lot with his possessions and also the women and the people. All right? And in coming back, the king of Sodom came out and met him and said, hey, listen, take what you want. And Abraham said, no, I'm not. I'm going to take Lot and his people and whatever the 118 need just to sustain themselves. Because he said, I don't want you to say, hey, listen, I helped to make Abraham rich, so I'm not going to take him. And just before that, coming back, he met Melchizedek, king of Salem, and who brought out bread and wine to him. And it says he was the priest of the Most High God. And Melchizedek blessed him and said, blessed be Abram of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hands. And then Abram gave Melchizedek a tenth of all. That's where the story now that we've been looking at in Hebrews chapter 7 starts, where it says, as he was returning from the slaughter of the kings, and he was blessed. And so that's when, and that's the only time we know that Abraham met Melchizedek, was at that time. But it sets up an interesting phenomenon here because now the rest of what we're going to look at in Hebrews 7 is about the differences and the contrast between the 2 orders of priesthood. He says in verse 7 of chapter 7 of Hebrews, but without any dispute, the lesser is blessed by the greater. The lesser, Abraham, was blessed by the greater. In this case, mortal men receive tithes, but in that case, in the case of Abraham and Melchizedek, one receives them of who it is witnessed that he lives on. And, so to speak, through Abraham, even Levi, who received tithes, paid tithes, for he was still in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him. Okay, that's what we've been talking about. But now he goes and he says, now if perfection was through the Levitical priesthood, the order of Aaron, for on the basis of it the people received the law, what further need would there have been for another priest to arise according to the order of Melchizedek? Now, he's not talking about Melchizedek, but he's talking about one coming under the order of Melchizedek, okay? So we have the order of Aaron, we have the order of Melchizedek, and not being designated according to the order of Aaron. For when the priesthood is changed, of necessity there takes place a change of law also. Okay? So he's setting us up. We have the order of Aaron, and we have the original law. Now he's talking about the order of Melchizedek and one coming under that order. And when that happens, there's a change of law. Okay? For the one concerning whom these things are special, and that's what we're getting to here. So there's a change of priesthood. We have the order of Aaron and all the Levites that came under that, but now we have the order of Melchizedek, and there's one that comes under the order of Melchizedek, and that is Jesus, who becomes high priest. And because of that change of order of priesthood, there's a change of law, which sets up into this just to bring some distinction. We have the original covenant, and we have the renewed covenant. And the renewed covenant is different from the original covenant. But it doesn't do away with it. It doesn't do away with it. But because of this change in priesthood, there's a change of law from the original law to the new law. Jesus says, a new commandment I give to you, remember? And Jesus also said, there are two laws. Love the Lord your God with all your heart. Love your neighbor as yourself. And so we had a change in law with that. Okay, let's take a break. Let's clear our minds just a little bit. There's a lot of stuff, and I'll be right back.